welcome to 45 Minute Wait. I'm one of your hosts, Andee Zilmerman.
I'm the other one of your hosts, Andee. And have we been waiting 45 minutes since the last episode?
A little bit longer.
Well, I mean, it's important to note that for those who've been with us for a while, we are going to post these less frequently. So
we are.
Case you were wondering, what the hell?
I know, and I know Al probably doesn't even know this because he doesn't pay attention, but social media has been up. So podcasting is once a month and the social media has been up. So we are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, we are on doing a lot of YouTube shorts and things like that. See, and I say we, like Al is actually part of this, but he's going along for this ride.
You're going to make people think that this is one of those situations where I just let the woman do all the work. And that's correct.
Yes. Podcasters, I'm shaking my head. Yes.
What can I argue? That's not.
It's all good.
That's incorrect. That's not incorrect. That is exactly what's happening.
Would
you like me to post more?
No.
You want me to do the TikToks and the...
No.
I just turned 56 years old. You want me to do my old black man TikTokers and the hoochie and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you do that. No, I will ask you.
Dance?
I'll talk to you when I'm ready for you. I'll talk to you. I'm getting stuff out there. You're part of it. It's all good. It's all good. It's just my kind of like little hobby that I do. Our school years have started. Both Al's and my school years have started, which means that, woo, it's a lot. So it's good for me to get on social media and do like a little Disney snippet here and there. It kind of gets
Gotham content. Everybody loves Gotham content. I'll just like make him my substitute. Because I don't to do stuff for myself. But somebody asked me the other day, like, what's the main things on your camera roll? And it's like 70% pictures of Gotham.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. Well, a lot of stuff going on in the Disney world since we've talked last. Destination D23 has come.
Isn't it come and gone? Yesterday was the last day?
Yeah. So we have, I got to tell you, I don't know that there were any announcements that I was like, no way. At all.
I've been really busy this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't paid a ton of attention, but I look forward to like digging into it. But usually like my phone will blow up if there's some major Disney announcement.
And the only thing,
and they didn't even have a parks panel. So,
well, they're going to repaint the Cinderella castle back to the original colors of like gray and blue, which to be honest, every time I think of it, it's gray and blue. I totally forget that they even colored it pink in the first place. So
I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever thought for more than 2 seconds about the color of Cinderella's castle.
I know. So it's stuff. But actually this is good. This is good that you said that because it actually leads us into today's topic, which we'll get to in a minute. But I also finished the Disney virtual races. There were 3 virtual races for the summer, and I didn't
like four medals or
there were 4.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it was 3 races, and then they sent you an extra one if you did all 3.
If you did all 3, yeah.
Let's be honest, it was a virtual race. They sent them to me anyway. It doesn't matter if I did it or not. That's always been my thing about the
virtual races is like, because I'm the person like I will do it, but I also like if you just want the medals, you can just buy the medals. Right?
I know.
But I would feel so awful that I wouldn't do it. Like
I did make a social media video about it. So I did talk about it a little bit. So if you want to see the medals, so if you want to go see the medals are great. And I did do the work for them. So
it's amazing. I watched my own social media.
You did. You watched your own social media. I have a lot on there with you as well. We need more, but I have a lot on there with you as well. Right. So
you tell me, as I mentioned on one of our social media posts, you tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I'll go do it.
Okay. That sounds good.
Because it's important that the emotional labor of this relationship be carried by the woman. Yeah.
I am telling you the little social media snippets. I'm not lying. This has been my little like escape from school, my escape from life, my escape from the news. So those little social media snippets are just me, just like a little break from my brain. So that's all I'm doing. What about?
I'm glad to hear you have a broken brain.
It's been broken. It was born broken.
Fair.
Anything like Disney in your life? I mean, that wasn't really in my life.
I mean, I think the thing that is probably Disney. I'm going on a cruise in 2 weeks. Not on the Disney cruise line. I'm going on Norwegian, but I'm going on a cruise to Alaska in a couple of weeks. And in preparation for my cruise to Alaska, I again started looking and going, okay, I do want to do a Disney cruise at some point. And so just looking at the new Disney cruise line and being like, okay, if I go, I want to go on one of the newer ships that has all the like cool fancy stuff. Particularly, I can't remember which one. I think it's the Disney Wish that has like a Jungle Cruise bar, which is amazing to me because I don't even drink, but like it looks really cool. So I was doing preparing for my trip on a non-Disney cruise, I was doing all sorts of research on what a Disney cruise might look like.
Fair. Well, Ed was looking at a infographic of the ships and how much bigger like the ships are getting, right? So the Magic and the Wonder being the first one and the smallest ships. And we talk about it a lot. I get the claustrophobia from all the people. So I'm like, wow, I don't know if I want to go on one of those big ships or not. That's a lot of people on a ship. And you go on the big ships. You go on the ones.
But it's all a matter of perspective, right? Like, I don't like the smaller ships because to me, the smaller the ship, the more claustrophobic I feel, or the more I feel like on a big ship, I can be more anonymous. Like on the bigger ships, I can always find a space to myself.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have the same concerns about being around crowds that you do. But I think for me, like, if I am by myself in a large crowd, I still feel like that's solo time, as opposed to, I think if there's just a lot of bodies around, you have a reaction to that, which I think is valid. Like I probably wouldn't have understood it until my experiences, which I've spoken about at Comic-Con. I love Comic-Con. It's my favorite 4 days of the year, but on Saturdays on that convention floor, all of my nerve endings are firing at the same time because there's just so many people, right? So I get it. I 100% get it. I think my threshold is just a little bit higher than yours.
That could be. I mean, mine has changed over the years, so it's getting worse and worse. But that's okay.
When it's so funny for a person who's a fan of Disney parks, that is a difficult thing to overcome.
It's true, but I get what you're saying because I like going to Disney World more than I like going to Disneyland because there's always a place for me to go to be by myself where I can't always find that at Disneyland. So I get what you're saying about the smaller areas versus the bigger areas. And I definitely want to go on one of the bigger ships too. Trying to like get in my head, what are my Disney vacations going to be over the next year and a half? I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, but so all that being said, I'm so excited to talk to you today about the subject.
Me particularly, or our audience?
Yes, audience too, but actually you. So for our audience, I was really excited that AJ Wolfe, who is the creator of Disney Food Blog, which has been around since I think 2009 is when she started.
I've been watching them for years.
I love Disney Food Blog. Oh, I just have so much to talk about. We'll go into this as we talk. So AJ Wolfe is the creator of Disney Food Blog, and she just came out with a new book called Disney Adults Exploring and Falling in Love with a Magical Subculture. And as soon as
weird because we're Disney adults.
That's what I want to talk about. So today, yes, viewers and listeners, this is for you too, but I really, really want to ask Al some of the things that I've annotated in this book. I want to tell you that I started off reading this book and I was so excited about it too. I was very happy that it was coming out. I wanted to see what she had to say. And I started off a little disappointed. She's a blogger. She started off as a blogger before anything else. And to me, the book was reading like a blog
and not like a book.
Not like a book. And it started to bother me. Just the English teacher in me started cringing a little bit.
I mean, I've often thought this is the book we should have written, but yeah.
No, I don't think we could have written this book. Al, I don't think we could have written this book. And I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Go on.
This is not the book that I want to write. And it's very much the book that I'm glad she did write. I learned a lot from the book. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about some other people. I learned about who calls themselves Disney adults. Disney adults is a relatively new term.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and say, this is my opinion. This wasn't in the book or anything. I'm going to say that Disney adults was kind of created for the millennial. And I'll tell you why.
I can see that.
I think that a lot of these Disney adults, not so much like you could put yourself in this situation a little bit, but I I still think you're a little bit before this. So a lot of these Disney adults are people who did not go to Disney as kids.
Oh,
they
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
afford it.
Yeah,
They
I can see
couldn't,
that.
which I knew that's how you guys were. You did like one trip,
Yeah.
right, as a kid. And these are people who once they start having money or once they start having an income and then they went to Disney World, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And now I want to go all the time and I want to own all the things and I want to do all the things and I need to collect all the things. That's kind of what it reminded me of. I could be wrong. On that opinion, but I have a lot to explore with you.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that because I haven't read the book. It's still, Amazon is still getting it to me, but I watched a couple of interviews with her that she's been doing a lot of press about it lately, and just sort of talking about she's got sort of I don't say it's a unique spin, but from an academic perspective, she has defined Disney adult very specifically in a way that may or may not apply to you and I. And so I think it's really fascinating, the idea that it may be millennials, because it also coincides with the Disney Renaissance era.
Oh,
And
completely.
right. That those are the films that they more connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were
Mm-hmm.
in college when the Disney Renaissance era started. So
100%.
like I'm so much more connected to sort of the classic Walt Disney produced era than the Renaissance, even though I love the Renaissance movies. And so it's just a very different thing, because every time I go to the park, I find that there's less and less of the merchandise that's geared towards my movies and more towards like Disney Renaissance and later and Pixar and all that kind of stuff.
I think you're totally right. And I think it is that Disney Renaissance. I think it's the Little Mermaid. And though you and I did meet in 1989, we met and became friends like probably a month or two before that movie, before Little Mermaid came out. And so our love of Disney was not shaped by the Renaissance by any means. So we had this different love of Disney and this different view of
ours
Disney.
Was more rooted in like the Sunday night, Magical World of Disney and all those specials, anniversary, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and the classics that came out in the theater once every 7 years.
Every 7 years, yeah.
and yeah, in 1989 we had VHSs, but I mean, even those were only out for like 8 or 9 years.
I wrote in high school, I wrote a review of Sleeping Beauty because it came out, I think, my senior year of high school, 86, 87, and about how. And again, we've talked about this before, sort of your Disney fandom is more tied to the parks and mine is more tied to the films. But how, like, I was just floored by the animation. But even in 86, that animation was like 20, 30 years old, right?
Well, she's really, in her book, it's really cute. She has this kind of flowchart graphic, like, are you a Disney adult? And I won't read the whole thing. It's cute. Look it up. It's like in the first couple of pages. But her cue to Disney master adult status is basically the questions. Have you ever given a lecture about how to properly use the writer switch system to people who didn't ask? Which I can say yes. I have.
Sure, yeah.
Do you know the exact difference between the Disneyland churro and the Disney World churro? And then, so anyway, just some of the things like that.
Yeah.
Do you get a secret thrill when a park newbie doesn't know how to use the mobile ordering and you effortlessly swoop in with your seasoned experience?
But part of that is, I don't find the term Disney adult to be pejorative. I'm fine with being called a Disney adult. And B, because I feel such an affinity for Disney, if somebody's going to the parks and they don't have sort of my experience, I don't know if it's a responsibility, but I feel like, hey, I can make your trip easier, better, more enjoyable because I can, like it's like the mobile ordering, right? If you don't mobile order at the parks, you're going to spend hours waiting for food, right? And so I feel like, okay, if you're going with me, I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience. Here's how to really get through and have the most of your day. Hopefully I don't do it in a way that's annoying to people, but I
think the difference between me and maybe a Disney adult that she's talking about is that I don't get excited by telling people about mobile order. That's not where my excitement lies. My excitement doesn't lie there. And all of these are fairly new procedures, over the last decade or even 2 decades. So, that's not where my excitement lies. My excitement lies in other places. And so I was trying to figure out, by her definition, am I a Disney adult or not? And I mean, I'm going to go through some of these annotations and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But here's my question for you though. Like, is there a difference between a DisNerd and a Disney adult by her definition?
Oh, I mean, I don't know her definition, but just my immediate response would be yes. And I would say I would probably lean more towards the DisNerd side. I mean, I'm nerd, period, right? That's my whole deal. And for me, there's a part of the Disney adult, right, that didn't quite feel like it applied to me in terms of like, I really enjoy being at the parks, but if I never go to the parks again, I don't feel like I'm going to like be crushed, right? Like I'm a grown up, you know what I mean? Or like I do spend a lot of money on merch now because I didn't used to have the money, but I would never spend money that could otherwise, like I'm not going to spend rent money at Disney, right? I'm not going to be worried about food when I get home. Like the only money I'm going to spend at Disney is money that I know I can afford, or I'm just not going to go, right? Because I know, okay, a Disney trip costs X amount of money. If I don't have X amount of money and am able to meet all my other obligations, and I don't go to Disneyland this time. I don't know that that's true for some Disney adults, right? Or the people who go 16 hours. I could do that when we were young. I can't do that now. I just can't.
That's what I was wondering. So in my mind, as I'm reading her book, I'm wondering, I mean, you and I are going to call ourselves Disney adults, but am I less of a Disney adult and more of a DisNerd? Where,
right?
She was even talking about. Well, let me read just this little bit, and it's right in the introduction. This is what she says about herself. I'm a Disney adult. I have a slightly obsessive proclivity towards experiences and entertainment created by one of the world's largest media conglomerates. I've been one of those grown-ups racking up credit card debt to escape the grind of my daily life with trips to Disney World. Okay, that is not me.
That's
and like
not
you
me.
said,
I
that
don't
is
put
not
my Disney
you.
trips on credit cards. I don't. I literally, if I am not going to finance a t-shirt at like 14.8% or whatever my credit, like that's just not something I'm going to do. Like if I literally will make sure after Disney trip that I can't spend more than I'm going to like pay off that card. Like I might use a credit card, but I'm going to pay that. I'm not going to finance it.
That is what, but I know that there are people like that. And at one time I was pretty judgmental about that, though. The more, I learn about depression and anxiety, I see that we do whatever we can to get our moods out of there. But I'm not that person. You're not that person. She was saying that she gets, weirdly obsessive about Disney trivia.
Yeah.
I do get weirdly obsessive about Disney trivia.
I mean, I understand that since you lost a very important Disney trivia game.
Exactly. Which brings us to this point. But the other thing she said, which I thought was so funny because we were there on the day. I'm pretty sure you were there on the day. She's talking about Disney adults collecting all the popcorn buckets. Some that were so exclusive they demanded an up to 6-hour queue lines to procure.
Not gonna do it.
No, but you remember we were there when they did the Figment.
It was
they
insane.
did the Figment and the
Both
lines were crazy. And
lines are crazy. And you and I are looking at each other like, what is wrong with these people?
And for plastic popcorn buckets, that's what I'm saying. So in the beginning of the book, she's really describing a lot of this that I don't think that we are.
Yeah.
So I was struggling with that. Go ahead.
People who are that, like that.
No.
I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, right? Like when I go to Comic-Con, right? I might wait in the line for an exclusive, but there's a limit, right? I don't know. There's always a limit of reasonability. I don't know that I would wait more than an hour for really anything. They could be handing out copies of the Action Comics #1, and I'd be like, an hour and a half? Right? Like, but I mean, how much of this, though, Andee, is age? Like you said, a lot of it is millennial, right? Versus commitment. Because I do have an emotional attachment to Disney. I kind of bristle when she says I'm an emotional attachment to this conglomerate, because I don't have an emotional attachment to the company. Right? I was in my office the other day and I have a lot of Disney stuff and I have a couple of statues of Walt, and this guy came in. He was like, ugh, Walt Disney? And I was like, what's that about? And in his mind, he equated Walt Disney with the Disney company. And I don't do that. Like, I admire Walt Disney. He had some issues, right? Conservative guy from the 50s, right? But I like Walt Disney. I don't see him as infallible, and I definitely don't see the Disney company as infallible. I think companies are amoral.
Right.
And I think the Disney company is as amoral as any other company. They're going to do whatever they can do to make a profit. So I don't feel an emotional attachment to the company. I feel an emotional attachment to the stories and some of the characters.
Yes. And that is where there's a lot. I mean, there's so much in this book that I just so enjoyed reading about, but I did not identify with the Disney adults she was talking about. And she does talk about lots of different, I mean, there are so many different personalities and other people that she brings into this that I love learning about. I learned about new people. I learned that there was actually like, there is a Disney Culture and Society Research Network. I didn't know that. There's stuff I learned. There is a woman in California, and her Instagram is House of Lady Chappelle, that only does Disney tattoos. I'm like, what? That's amazing.
Cool. I should track that down. I was thinking about my next tattoo being a Disney one. Yeah.
Gee, how good of you to get a Disney tattoo as you do a Disney podcast when you have other tattoos.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Superman, which you haven't seen yet, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. It's like you don't even care about me.
I do. I do care about you.
And you haven't seen Superman.
No, I haven't been to the theater.
Different topic.
Let's see. Here's another thing about Disney adults. Disney adults, she explains that they go to Disney chat rooms, or they go to like different websites to talk about Disney, whether it's Reddit or, different Disney websites have their own chat rooms in there. I've done that in the past.
I mean, we have a podcast, let's be fair, right?
I know. So I do. Yeah. I might not get as passionate about some things that other people do.
But I also think one of the distinctions might be, and I'm curious, having read the book, for me, one of the distinctions is the ability to look at this stuff critically, right? Is it 100% adoration and, they can do no wrong, I will love anything they do? Or alternatively, what I've seen happen is this absolute love, absolute hate, or Disney does one thing that they don't like and all of a sudden they hate it and Disney's evil, or the ability to be critical and be like, I like this, I don't like that, I'm medium about this, right? Like to take things sort of as they come in a reasonable manner, as opposed to, no matter what, I will be there when they have a popcorn bucket. To be fair, I have never bought a popcorn bucket. I don't have space for, and I'm a collector, right? And popcorn buckets are just this thing where I'm like, I don't get it.
They're as a plastic crap.
Well, I mean, I have a ton of things that people might call plastic crap, but as a collector, I don't see I think because there's so many of them, I don't see the appeal.
I don't either.
But
people buy them and they put them on eBay.
Is it the ability to look at it critically? Because that's one of the things I find in the most extreme Disney adult stuff I see, where there's not, it goes from interest, which I think you and I have a healthy interest, into obsession, right? Where it becomes maladaptive. If you're going into debt and you're not able to engage in a relationship with somebody who isn't into Disney, right? Like that kind of stuff where it's just like, ooh, like your life is actually being affected maybe negatively because of this. That's not necessarily ideal. Because most of my friends could care less about Disney, and I'm still friends with them.
No, so this was our first week going back to school, and usually there's, that first day of meet the teacher, who's the teacher about, what's the teacher about. And my MO is that I'm a Disney teacher, right? I will tell you though, there are a lot of classrooms out there that are 100% Disney. They will have so much red, white, and black and ears and everything in the classroom that it looks like, Disney Pinterest threw up in their classroom.
Yeah.
That is not my classroom. I have a love of Disney, but I don't think that needs to be my students' love. Right. Does that make sense? Like I try to keep it pretty neutral when it comes to that.
Space not just for your expression, but for your classroom as a place for the collective.
Right.
And I do think for some teachers, particularly, teaching is a really hard job. And I think some teachers probably use their classroom as a place to express themselves. They don't have an office, right?
Yeah. Well, no. It's true. And it should be a place to express yourself. I get it. I'm just saying, but there are true people who call themselves Disney adults who do that. And that's fine for them, but that's not me. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just, I couldn't live in that.
Right.
And I did, because I am so Disney teachery, and when I'm introducing my family, I'm like, okay, hi, here are all these people and they all work for Disney. Hi, I have a podcast and it's Disney, and here's a family picture and we're at Disney. And I have a co-teacher with me one period, and she's new to our school. And so she was hearing me do all this and hearing me, and I had to pull her aside, and I'm like, I think Disney makes some mistakes too.
Right. Yeah.
Like totally.
Right. Splash Mountain. Let's talk about that, right?
I know. But one of the things, I'm going to quote AJ Wolfe in her book, which I think is true, and I think we've used it as this before. It's taking Disney as an escape. Disney's very intentional effort to create a false world. They work to put the wool over my eyes, and I willingly let them.
Right. It's about, I know that it's happening, right? I am aware when I walk down Main Street that Main Street is not the street that I walk down every day, right? And that the sort of ideal, early 20th century, late 19th century sort of everybody's in town is not real, because if I, magically went back to Marceline, Missouri at that time, I would probably not have a good day.
You would not.
You know what I mean? This is not, that this is an escape. And you have to look at it critically, right? You do. I love Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, right? And Lincoln wasn't 100% like, I think black people are 100% equal and right? Like, it's not the truth. And yet I still very much enjoy Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
I know there's a lot. And she does talk about that. She does talk about when it could be a problem about, like, you're not facing the real world. You're only going to Disney, which I think there are a lot of people that do. And I think it's very easy to do. And that is why you and I, even though if we're not at the parks, we'll watch a YouTube or we'll watch something. I put Disney music on in the car. I listen to Disney music in the car.
Yeah. I'm walking my dog. I'm listening but here's the thing. If I'm walking my dog, I may be listening to a Disney playlist. I also might be listening to a book on tape, or I might be listening to a podcast.
Thank you for saying book on tape.
Oh my God, I'm so old.
I get made fun of all the time. I cannot say audiobook. It's book on tape.
An audiobook, yes, you are correct.
I get blasted for it all the time. All the time.
Are like, what's a tape?
That's so funny. Oh, this is so funny because I remember doing this too. I don't know if you did. Back in the day when Disney used to send their promotional DVDs, we used to send away for those every year. We just used to watch them over and over again.
No, we didn't do that. But, here's my thing. Poor family. So I would tape. And I talked about this on
this is when we were adults.
Podcast.
This
right?
is when we were adults. I'm talking about
the DVDs was when we were adults, but when I was a kid, like all the Disney, like Disneyland 35th anniversary, and I would just tape all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I could watch it over and over again, and like they would do like the Disney Valentine special where they would recut Disney cartoons and do it like on a Whitney Houston song or something like that, and I would watch that kind of stuff. But again, I was like 15, 16 years old, right? I mean, here's the thing, like, the Disney adult has become, I think, a pejorative term, and not without merit. So I was on Facebook the other day, or actually this was just this morning now that I think about it, and a woman was complaining how it was, I think they were Disney California Adventure, and it was like 90 degrees out, and so she had her kids and she took them into the Art of Animation building because that's one of the places where you can get out of the heat. And she was really upset because she couldn't find a chair. And then she was like, Disney adults ruined this. And everybody was like, I don't understand how you get the leap from I couldn't find a seat to Disney adults ruined this. And she's like, well, everybody in there was an adult and I didn't have anywhere to have my kids sit down. And the whole group was just like, what? And then I realized, like, Disney adult has become a shorthand for anybody at Disney who doesn't have a kid who I don't like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if that's their first time there, if they're, it's like the pejorative term for people who go to Disneyland who I feel don't deserve to be there as much as I do. Right? It's that old story of the woman who went viral because she just thought that Disney should bar certain people, right? It's I think the distinction between what we as people who really are adults and who enjoy Disney stuff versus what other people who use like, if you and I say Disney adult, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Haha. If I don't know if it's most people, but people who wouldn't consider themselves Disney adults use the term Disney adult, it's usually pejorative and pretty negative. Right?
Yeah,
and I get it, but I also, as the target of some of that, feel like, oof, has that become a shorthand? I mean, we live in a world where basically we're all just looking for a way to, judge other people, right? Is there a thing I can do to make me feel better than you?
How sad.
I mean, but it's true, and it's you have to be careful of that. Like I hate it, but I also wouldn't say I'm above it, and so I have to be thoughtful, right? When I'm walking in the world, because there's people in the world who I think don't do things correctly. Politically, there's a whole bunch of people who I think don't do things correctly. And
you don't
yet,
say.
I have to be careful not to get into a space of, oh, I'm better than these people.
Speaking of better than these people, so she goes on to say about why does Disney, why is it this escape? Why does Disney bring up the happy memories all the time? She talks a lot about nostalgia. But one thing that I mean, it makes sense. It's common sense, but I never thought about it. She was just talking about how people get angry about, the attractions being changed. Of course, Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but when they changed Pirates of the Caribbean and anytime they change anything, and right. She said that mostly what it is, it's people's nostalgia is being threatened, right? It's their nostalgia. And then, but this is where I think it's interesting, is that all of our nostalgia is different.
Right.
I can remember when Splash Mountain was opened. And so I can remember that being a new ride. When Splash Mountain was changed, I don't care. Change it. Right. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't born after.
It didn't exist when you were a kid.
It didn't exist when I was a kid. Right. That was a brand new ride in 1989. So,
but if they were to say, okay, we're not going to have the castle anymore, right?
I know.
I would have an issue.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's interesting how different people react depending on what their nostalgia is. And I guess she did bring up that point. And I was like, oh yeah, it does depend on what that is and why people make a bigger deal out of it than others.
But I also wonder if part of that is also and looking at the Splash Mountain example, but I think it's probably true for others. If I go in and I say, hey, we're going to change Splash Mountain because some of the imagery was problematic. And you say, well, that's a ride that I've always loved. And so if you say some of that imagery is problematic, you're calling me racist. And I'm not racist. Therefore, right? I think
that you're totally right.
Nostalgia, but there's also an identity piece, right? Which is, I identify very strongly with the story or the narrative. And if you critique that story or narrative, you're critiquing me, right? And I don't want to be critiqued, or I don't want to think of myself as a bad person. And if you say that this ride needs to be changed because it's problematic, aren't you calling me a bad person? Right? Nobody wants to be called a bad person. And so I think it's both at the same time. I do think it's nostalgia, but nostalgia, I don't think accounts for everything, right? Like I said, my sort of entree to Disney fandom was really, I saw these movies when I was a teenager, these like Pinocchio and Sleeping Beauty, and I thought the animation was amazing. And then I started researching the animation, and that's sort of how I became a bigger, like anybody, I watched when I was a kid, but like how I went from being like this person who occasionally watched a Disney thing because it was on, to a person who was like, oh, let me find out more about this, was because I really was into sort of particularly Sleeping Beauty. How did these people do this amazing art, right? I don't know if that counts as as nostalgia as much as an admiration for the art. I think nostalgia is a huge component of it, but I think there's other components that maybe people aren't sort of identifying. I mean, it's one of the reasons why like parts of it, like meeting the character meets and greets, aren't really my huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Except recently when I was there and Oswald was there, and I was like, why? And I was thinking about this because you were like, you don't like characters, and I was like, so why did I like really react to Oswald? And for me, I was like, well, Oswald is this historic character, and the whole story of Walt losing Oswald and da-da-da-da, it was like a history of animation thing, which is why I took the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for some, and I would hazard a guess, for most of the people that sort of identify as Disney adult, I would say the vast majority of it is nostalgia, but I don't think it's 100%.
No, I think you're right. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, she does bring in a lot of people that talk a little bit about that. She has different, like, in every chapter, she'll like focus on a different guest and how they are a Disney adult. And I think that a lot of them probably do relate to what you just said. And some of them are I don't know, for lack of a better term, I call them the newer Disney adults, and that would be millennial after the Renaissance. I think that you're right.
And here's another question though, for you, just as Andee, but also from reading of the book. Is it possible to be a Disney adult if you don't have access to the parks? Because think about it, at least in the United States, the parks are on the coasts. The vast majority of people, unless you've got money, aren't going to be able to make that trip. But like when I was a kid, right, we couldn't afford to go to Disneyland, but I was still really into Disney. Can you be a Disney adult without having sort of the parks piece?
Well, that's why in my mind as Andee, I think there is a difference between the Disney adult and the DisNerd.
Okay.
I think that's why I really differentiate it like that, because a Disney adult is going to know everything about, and this is another thing too. Does a Disney adult know everything about the parks?
Right.
And maybe not everything about the movies. What if you're a grown-up Disney person who knows all about the movies, all about the live action, all about this, but you don't know that much about the parks? Does that let you be a Disney adult?
Right, because it's a very different, for me, it's a very different fandom, right? Like, I'm really into the history of of Walt Disney Animation Studios. There's not a lot of that at the parks, right? Which is why, like, as much as I love the parks, visiting the studio was like a life achievement for me.
Yes.
Because that's really the core of my fandom. And don't get me wrong, I love going to the parks, but it's really a different thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I would be curious on other people's answer to that question as well. One thing that I found interesting about AJ shared a little bit of her story she is huge in the Disney social media world. She has a team. It's not just her. She has built a company with this. She has people in the parks every single day. Looking at
hers are some of the videos I watch when I'm going, not so much Disneyland because I've been there so much, but when I'm going to Disney World to sort of refamiliarize myself.
You can watch her every day. She'll have something
Disney
new.
Food Blog is one of the big ones that just really helps me figure out what I'm going to do on a day at the parks in Florida.
And as someone who is a little bit Disney competitive in things like trivia contests and maybe other things where, no, you can't possibly know as much as me because I've loved Disney all my life. I mean, obviously I'm wrong. Obviously there are people who know a lot more than me. And there's a lot of people that know a lot less than me. But one thing that she was sharing is that as her job basically is this Disney job, she still loves Disney, but she has had to put a lot of her own personal life and heartache to the side while she manages the Disney social media stuff. And I don't ever want that. I don't ever want that.
I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons why this is a little peek behind the scenes for our viewers and listeners. But, this isn't a big podcast. Both Andee and I have other jobs. We've talked about like how much actual effort do we want to put into like making this bigger. And we've sort of come to the terms of we actually like it as a hobby, right? And like there are things we could do to really try to like expand our audience and like become larger influencers, right? And I don't think for us, we're sort of willing to do that. It's like once a month we get together and talk about stuff that we find interesting. That's cool. That's the purpose. And if you enjoy it, also awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want to have a life where, okay, every time I go eat breakfast, I got to figure out how I can make content. And it's just not a life I'm interested in having. But I also think, right, like part of me is like, oh, that would be cool, right? To take your interest and be able to do it full time would be cool.
Yeah.
But I also think like here's a question for you. You say how competitive you are with Disney. And I was like, that's part of our origin story, right? We're both competitive with Disney stuff. But I also don't know that I am that way anymore. And it's going to be a tangent, but it makes sense. Sort of as a comic book person, I'm a DC person. And I am so flippin' exhausted with the Marvel versus DC thing. Like when I was a little kid, it was a part of my identity. And I'm exhausted. If I never have to have another conversation of who do you think would be Superman or the Hulk, I am fine. Like I read Marvel comics, I watch Marvel movies, I read DC comics, I watch DC movies. I have a slight preference for DC, but that doesn't mean like I hate. Like I am so tired of the competitiveness within the framework of art makes no sense to me. Right?
I'm getting
I
that.
really like Disney movies. That doesn't mean that I am required to then hate any animated movie that's not a Disney movie, right?
Oh, it's totally true.
It just doesn't make any sense to me in the way it used to. So I don't think I'm as competitive as I used to be. Do you think you're as competitive as you used to be?
When it comes to trivia, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much. I think what people are competitive over lately is not where my interests lie. And so I'm kind of giving up. I do still love my trivia. I still love my music, stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's like by nature, right? Like a trivia contest is like that. Like, how do you have a trivia contest without it being competitive?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I do enjoy that. I'm not saying I'm 100% not competitive, but if I lose a Disney trivia contest, what do I care?
I think lately the competition has turned ugly, and I say lately, like maybe in the last 10 years. I think as the world has turned ugly, the Disney competition has turned ugly, and it's definitely politics has played a part in that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Which side of the political spectrum you're on has judged how you are viewing Disney as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, there's so many, like every time there's a change, every time there's an announcement, you're going to get one comment in there that says like, oh, Walt would be rolling in his grave. It's like, shut the hell up. You don't know what Walt would do. This is a completely different
Quote,
scenario.
unquote, Disney and
we're in completely different times. There's just not anything. And so, as we like kind of close out our episode, and we know this quote very well, AJ also puts this quote, towards the end of her book, as long as there's imagination left in the world, Disneyland will never be complete. And let's just go ahead and put that towards Disney in general, assuming that he would be part, of this whole conglomerate.
Right.
So I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, it's 2025. I doubt Walt would still be alive if he hadn't had.
I'm just saying, if his idea,
124 years old.
Yeah, but say he was, still running.
But it's also
we're different.
To your point, to sort of try to figure out what a man who was born 124 years ago would think about our current circumstances is kind of ridiculous. Right?
It's like putting Bible stories in effect today. It's like putting the founding fathers and guessing what they would do today. There is no guessing. There was no internet. They would look up
at the sky and go, what is that demon flying above us, right?
Seriously. Or why can you talk on the phone like it's the Jetsons? Like, I mean, come on,
I feel
people.
like that, and I'm still alive, right?
Yeah.
I every day I look and I go, I have a phone in my hand that's more powerful than the computers that sent us to the moon, right?
Oh my gosh. Not only that, I mean, more powerful than the computers. My dad, as a profession, spent years in rooms.
We're video talking to each other.
I know.
Remember that used to be on the Jetsons? And that was crazy? We are having a video conversation.
And recording it so other people can watch us have a conversation.
Right?
I know. So we could, I don't know. So I guess talking about this book and talking about Disney adults, my main question then to you after talking about all this is there a difference between the DisNerd and the Disney adult? And, you know, we've talked about it. I'd love to hear what our viewers and listeners think about it too. Is there a difference between a DisNerd and a Dis adult?
I agree. I want to hear it. I want to hear from our listeners because I think there is. And now that you've defined it, I feel like I might be more comfortable calling myself a DisNerd. But I also, it's really important that I don't want to attach a negative connotation
I don't think
to adult.
No, I don't think there is a negative connotation. I think that if you looked at our, Emma and Annika, my daughters, they would be more Disney adults. I mean, yes, they did work for Disney and they see some of the darker side, but they they do Disney bounding all the time.
Yeah.
They do all this stuff. They do collect the popcorn buckets. They do collect the lounge flies. I mean, I got a kid next door moved home with all of her lounge flies everywhere. And the collecting
I will say the lounge flies are awesome. And if they had different sizes, I would totally collect them. But anyway.
Dude, really? I mean, does anybody need 100 lounge flies? I don't know. To be hanging on their walls? That's a Disney adult thing.
I have thousands of comic books, so I am nobody to judge.
I know. You're the last person. So anyway, we're going to talk about this a little bit more over the weeks to come. I want to tell everyone, I think you would enjoy this book. So if you're just looking for like, should I not read this? If you love Disney and if you love watching Disney movies and going into the Disney parks, I say read the book. I got a lot of joy out of it, and I think you will too. So that's what I think. And we'll talk more about that on all of our social media platforms, which check it. Here's what we got. We got Facebook at 45 Minute Wait. We got Instagram at 45 Minute Wait. We got TikTok at 45 Minute Wait. We are on YouTube at 45 Minute Wait. And we've got YouTube Shorts going at 45 Minute Wait. We're also on Threads at 45 Minute Wait. But I don't really post on Threads. It's just whatever it takes from Instagram. I think that's it.
That's a lot. I really should start looking at that. I didn't know we were on TikTok.
We are.
They're doing a dance? Is that
nobody's
happening?
dancing. Nobody's dancing. Nobody's dancing.
What I assume TikTok is.
Oh Lord, you're only 1 year older than me.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Wait for the podcast to come to a complete stop before disembarking. Permanece centavos, por favor.